Hello and welcome to Flights in Alaska. I'm Dave, the armchair bush pilot. For today's virtual flight scene tour of Alaska, I thought we'd do a request. Somebody requested the Glen Highway. We go up the Glen Highway towards the Matanuska Glacier and parts east. Now that's a little bit of a far flight for just a YouTube video, so we're just going to stop at around Sheep Mountain if I can find that runway. I've got live weather and live time turned on. You can see today as I record this, the weather's kind of miserable, and I'm looking out my window as we fly this flight here, and it looks kind of like this. So I thought we'd just go ahead and maybe adjust the weather. Let's do some, I don't know, scattered clouds perhaps. There we go. That's pretty good. So you can see today's June 20th as I record this. I don't know when you're going to see it once I get it edited and up there. But one thing I do want to point out here is we got snow all over the mountains. That is not what's going on right now, and I don't know what's going on in the sim. We just got our Scandinavia update, and I can't help but wonder if it's not related to that. But anyhow, here we are in the Cessna 172 Skyhawk. That's going to be our aircraft for today. We are cold and dark, so let's see if we can get it started. And of course, this being a Sobo standard airplane, it's not that difficult to get going. We don't have to actually follow all the procedures, which is good because, as I've said before, I'm not an actual pilot. So again, we are in the Palmer Municipal Airport, Palmer Buddy Woods, where we're at right now. This is where DNR houses which is the Alaska Department of Natural Resources, houses I think it's the Pioneer Peak Hotshot Squad, and then also they've got an air wing out of here that drops. They'll bring retardant and stuff like that. Anyways, I've said that in other videos. Let's go ahead and try to get this thing started. So battery. Turn a couple of lights on here. Good to go. Let's check that in a little bit. Make sure our mixture's full. Good to go. All right, cool. So I think normally do stuff fuel pumps here. Fuel pump stuff. It's broken in this one, so we're going to let it be. I think we can start it. Very good. Set the RPMs to right about 1,000. Cool, shiny. Let's get everything else on. And just turn all the rest of the lights on for good measure. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and get oriented here. Palmer, let's go ahead and pull up that map, and we'll show you where we're at and where we're going. So Palmer is here in South Central Alaska. Anchorage International is just over here, and I live just kind of over here in Wasilla. And we're going to be heading up the Glen Highway here. Not all the way. This would be Glen Allen, and that would take you out towards the Alaska Highway if you go up this direction. We're going to stop right in this neck of the woods here in a little area called Sheep Mountain. There's a landing strip there I want to try to hit. I've only done this flight 3 times in the simulator, and this is probably going to be the 3rd time, I guess. And I'll talk about what I can as I go along here. I didn't do a lot of research for some of the historical pieces, but I can talk about sort of contemporary things as we fly. So that's where we're headed. Now, with that in mind, let's go ahead and maybe see about getting underway. So we're just going to pretend for ATC today. I don't feel like goofing with it. Oh, let's shut that barking brake off here. Cool. All right. And let's get moving. We're going to take off out of runway 34 today. Is this direction. All right. And I know I've done a bunch of videos out of Palmer, but it is my home airport basically. And I've been to this airport a bunch of times just for, whatever kind of stuff, air shows and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's familiar territory, so I can actually navigate by sight, which is great. Actually, the simulator is good enough that I can navigate by landmarks in my area, and I kind of love that, actually. It's really neat. I will say that the Matanuska Valley, as we get up there, the terrain really is not fabulous, and so it's much, much harder to sort of identify landmarks and things that direction. But as it's basically, that Matanuska Valley is one valley with one destination, not like you're going to get lost out there. And the landmarks, they're big mountains, so certain land features are going to be tells here. All right, let's see. Now, I actually haven't flown in the simulator in many weeks as I record this. I don't know how well it's going to go. that. Make sure we're there. Let's throw flaps. Check our pitot heat. Landing lights. Good to go. I think we can make this happen. All right, we'll just pretend we're telling ATC we're going to take off, heading north. Got Matanuska Peak out in front of us there. Off to our left. If it was just a little bit nicer out, I just do live weather. And I am kind of doing live time. I sort of thought I'd like to do an evening flight just because I think the sim looks better in evening. Particularly right now is June 20th as I record this. That's right near the solstice. And that's kind of a neat time of year here, because you do get that midnight sun, which I think is neat if you don't have to try to sleep through it. All right, let's see if we can do this without crashing. Come on, almost there. I think we can come up at this point. Ugh, yeah. Well, I didn't crash, so that's something. All right, so let's try to get to about 75 knots. I think that's what we want to climb at. Probably throw up our flaps. Very good. And this Matanuska Valley here, we do get some pretty significant winds blowing out of there as you do glacier valleys. So I wonder if the simulator is going to give us any of that today. It actually kind of feels like it is. Again, we're flying over the Matanuska River right now, and this is generally a braid of sandbars and main river channels. There's a spot just up here where you can come right off the road on one of these bluffs and look straight down. It's like, I don't know, 500 feet or something down to from the highway down, but the river is actually eroding out the highway, and so they've kind of had to do some mitigation there. And I apologize if I misspeak here or have to repeat myself. I'm going to try to do this in a single take. I don't have a lot of time at the moment, so recording these videos, I kind of got to shortchange a little bit. So directly ahead of us, we've got Hatcher Pass, and those are the Talkeetna Mountains. I did a video on Hatcher Pass. I've actually done a couple of videos on Hatcher Pass to include a pretty neat real-life comparison one. And I had meant to do 4 of those, and then I realized that I did not record enough comparative video to make that work, which is really too bad. That was pretty neat time. And I think it really illustrated actually how good the simulator kind of is in terms of how well it represents the geography. Just coming around here. I kind of want to stay right above the river for right now, so we can see some things off to our left. So the highway, the Glen Highway, which is what we call it, stays to the north of the Matanuska River. And at some point, there's no real road access on the south side of the Matanuska River. There are some cables for trams that go across for private holdings. They're not things you could go do yourself. There we go. We are looking pretty good right now. Got a farmland represented over here. This is pretty accurate, sort of. I mean, we don't have that kind of structure going on for our farms, but this is all fields over here for real life. Okay, cool. I am hand flying this, and I'll do that the entire way. I'm finding that to be more and more enjoyable, actually, rather than firing up the autopilot and just letting it do its own thing. But as a result, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, and it's going to look weird. Like, I don't like how this is going, for example. I'm still having quite a bit of trouble setting the trim in the simulator, and I've got this new the Bravo throttle quadrant from Honeycomb. That thing is amazing. I love it. But it really takes a lot of work to trim. It's not as sensitive as like some of the other controls. I was using a Thrustmaster HOTUS before, and that was a big pain in the butt to use. I almost couldn't trim with it. This one, it's better. You can kind of get there to where it's more or less straight and level. All right, bouncing around a little bit here. Here's the highway. This is hard to tell here, but this is actually a really fairly steep curve here. And these guys have llamas. that place. That's a real place, but it's real steep down here, and there's a pretty big creek that thunders through here, and that's I think a good description of what it does. Um, it's one of those nice whitewater kind of looking things most of the time. We're flying towards an area, I guess over an area called Sutton. There's a little community here, the community of Sutton. I think it's right here. It's very small. I'm not sure how many people live there, but it's not a lot. It's super gorgeous out here. I mean, I think this is, man, like where the highway is and stuff. You can like look down this valley, and it's just beautiful. Looks like a Peter Jackson shot of New Zealand, honestly. And that there is a minimum security prison, so that's a thing you know. Um, and here's the highway, and now all through here, this is super popular recreation. So up in here, this lake, and it's kind of hard to see from here. Let's see if I can just squish down a little bit. There's I don't know what we call this, a mountain, a ridge, a bluff, what have you. You can see this from really far away. It's actually fairly high, but all along here, there's tons of great recreation opportunities. So four-wheelers and camping, and people come out here and shoot their guns and hunt and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's very, very popular area. Actually, this whole area we're about to fly into is very, very, very popular for recreation, outdoor kinds of activities. You know, it's pretty remote feeling. It's full of wildlife, and it's very close to Anchorage, so it's very, very highly trafficked for that kind of stuff. But also out here, something interesting, and I'm not sure from here how to get there. I actually think it's this road here, and I think it's over in this direction. And there is a little lake, and it's just a little old mining tailing lake. And I'm by little, I mean like pond. It's not big, maybe 400 feet long and 150 feet wide. And right along the edge of that is, gosh, I want to say it's right over here. I wish you could see the lake from here, but I don't think it quite makes it. There's a lot of hiking and stuff all around there, but there's also a place where you can go collect fossils, and that's one of the things about this area is it's full of coal. There's coal seams all through here, and even along the highways you're driving, you'll see those coal seams. I'm going to try and level off here because I don't want to be much above about 3,500 feet all the way through the end. Actually, that's kind of where we want to be once we get to the end. So it's about 3,000 feet is where the elevation of the runway we're going to aim for here. Let's get back over a little bit. Right off our nose here is this is King Mountain, I believe. Um, and there's campsites kind of at the foot of that on this side, which is the north side of the Matanuska River there. And this is a very visible peak from Wasilla and Palmer area. So as you're kind of driving around town and stuff, this is really apparent. Again, flying over that Sutton area and all the recreation in here. This is a place you don't really want to be during August and September unless you're hunting moose. There's just so many people out here um, that you just want to stay kind of clear unless you're doing the moose hunting thing, in which case this is where you want to be. This is a good place for that. And the highway does really skirt the river here, and one of the channels, main channels, actually does run right along the highway, and there's sort of a lot of problems with houses having eroded. The basically the river having eroded to the north and dropping houses in. There's one house that was kind of on the edge over here for a long time and finally fell in and sort of floated down the river for a while. Looks really pretty though. What I will say is again that these snow textures are kind of annoying me right now, and I couldn't again figure out how to get rid of them. But we don't really. It's not like this. There's snow in the mountains, but it's like the snowpack in these little valleys and stuff right now, and that's what I'd expect to see. And maybe if I wanted to play with it longer, but again, I don't have a heck of a lot of time these days, and so um, yeah, we're just gonna have to skip it. And this here is the highway. This is that Sutton area. So thinking about all of the recreation that goes on here, one of the reasons is because this is really, really near to what we call the Nelchina um, public use area, and that is such a popular area for hunting, for trapping actually, and for just outdoor recreation, blueberry picking, you name it. And it's also a fairly contentious area because, well, and contentious, by contentious I mean it's contentious in the sense of there's so many different user groups vying for the resources that tends to get political in there. The major one actually is the Nelchina caribou herd, and it actually doesn't run all the way this far. The furthest sort of westward reaches that I understand, and a biologist could correct me on this, of course, is sort of where we're headed. Mostly that kind of range further up in the Copper Basin there, which is a giant area on the other side of these Talkeetna Mountains. And below us here is Chugach Mountains. So we're actually kind of flying in between two ranges right now. Just kind of taking in the scenery. I know I'm just talking and we're not doing a lot of sightseeing at the moment, but yeah, here we go. This area is funny because the highway goes, I think the highway sticks on this side. I actually genuinely don't remember. There's some weird twists and turns with this highway because there's one spot where it gets up to a place called Chickaloon, which is, I think, in here. And Chickaloon is a native village, and I don't know a lot about the Chickaloon folks, but they're in here, the indigenous folks. And I think this is basically the road that cuts through basically their town, but the main highway actually stays here. Now, just over here is this Chickaloon River, and that's basically the borderline of a really well, it's called Unit 13. That's what we call it. It's a game management unit, and that sort of demarks an area that differentiates a what we call a non-subsistence use area in Alaska with subsistence, basically an area that's not a non-subsistence use area. It's not really designated as a subsistence use area pretty much anywhere in Alaska that's declared by regulation and law to be not is, if that makes sense. And what subsistence is it's living off the land. So you talk about people living off the land in Alaska, it's in these areas that are outside of urban centers. Though many people make the argument that urban people also are subsistence users, and I'm not going to sort of get into that particular argument at the moment. But the point is that this is basically the demarcation line. So where the subsistence uses where you could live off the land out here, unfortunately, because of contentious um, issues, that's a challenging thing. And in a lot of ways, this area, and this area is huge, by the way, it goes way beyond all those mountains there. Um, it, basically, the land use stuff it's just complicated. You couldn't just go out there and hunt a caribou or a moose if you wanted to. There's rules and it's complicated hunts, and by complicated, I mean like complicated. It's among the most complicated hunts in the state, and I wish I knew less about it. But there you have it. So here we are. This highway here is still along the Glen Highway, and it's again the Matanuska River, which again this is full of water and it shouldn't be, and that's is what it is. It does look nice and gray like this though. That is pretty legit. But this road here does actually go pretty significantly steeply up the mountain. This is gaining quite a bit of elevation as we come through here. And there's that Chickaloon River there, kind of winds its way back, and this is another sort of rushing river with big boulders inside of it that've been all river washed and they're round and all that good jazz. So get my nose up a little bit here. I'm not paying attention. There we go. So this is pretty scenic in here. There's spots where you can see quite a bit over the river, and there's pullouts and that kind of jazz. But also, it's grown up enough in a lot of these places that you can't really see out and over to the scenery. The trees are just tall enough, and through here it's kind of this intermediary between sort of nice thick forests and more of a alpine tundra kind of scenario. And you get little patches of alpine tundra or like sort of thin forested areas where you've got plenty of large mature birches and that kind of stuff. But they're spread out enough that it has a tundra-y feel to it. And of course you get like alders and willow thickets and that kind of jazz too, but not so much in the spruce here. There's definitely little thickets and that kind of stuff of black spruce and whatnot. And through here, these cliffs off to our left, there really are quite dramatic, and they do drop considerable distance. But some of this stuff over here actually looks pretty good. Like these things here. Oh, let's go squish down again here. Like how this looks, and this looks really pretty in real life, and this does it pretty well, but not as well as I'd like to have seen it. I think when I did this last time, I flew into a different, I kind of was over further to the north. keep drifting down. Trim up a little bit here. And again, I'm gonna try to follow the highway as we maneuver through here, because it's about the one place that you can reliably use as a benchmark for where you're at. So this here leads off into a neat recreation area. I've been hunting back in this area, and it really is really very, very steep and very difficult terrain. These are just basically cliffs all the way through here. But this cuts back, and there's a lake back in there. It's pretty neat. I went hunting, I think grouse hunting with a friend there. Got absolutely nothing, but you know that's kind of the nature of fair chase. And then as we come over here, this in front of us is Long Lake. This is a semi-popular fishing destination. I don't know if it's as popular as it is well known, but people, frequently will stop through here and throw in a line, see what they get. But again, this road here, this is very, very steep. These are basically cliffs. This is a very big slide area. You frequently see debris coming down the mountainside and landing in the road. And then also, this is where we really start to get what we call frost heaves. And if you're from sort of the mountain west, you're probably familiar with frost heaves. But basically, what happens is that the ground will shift up or down, by a foot or two, and so the highway is, you get big dips or bumps there, and they're not just they're big enough to cause damage to your car sometimes. So this is kind of a difficult stretch of road, actually. Um, and again, this is very steep drops all through his again cliffs and debris and all that jazz. I never really liked driving through here. I mean, I do from the sense of like this is super pretty, but it's whew, I don't know, it's dangerous. I always worry about getting hit by a rock, or you got to dodge rocks, particularly when it's raining. In the fall time, you get these heavy rains that'll move through, and that's when you see the most debris and coming down. And it shows sort of a mix of sort of alpine tundra and trees and stuff. And I think through here is still largely trees, and especially this hillside right here. Both sides are, well, maybe the south side is kind of more tundra-y, but not really. It's more of a like an alpine tundra, but before it's tundra, it's sort of that low, brushy alpine mix. And we're pointing towards an area called Glacier View. Now, Glacier View itself as a community is way out there. But Glacier View is actually a census designated place that sort of stretches from here-ish. I'm not 100% sure where it starts and where it ends, but generally this region. And there are houses all throughout here. Again, this is a popular small game hunting destination. I'm not sure if people come up here for moose. I feel like over here there's some valleys people will drive up into, and they'll go get moose from there. But like looking for the pullouts and stuff to be the tells. But there are definitely a lot of pullouts here for people to come off. You can kind of see a little road here. This is basically a pullout and a trail that goes off into the woods. And in the fall time, you'll see this just lined with trucks and trailers and four-wheelers and the whole 9 yards. Again, people out moose hunting. So presumably they are coming out here. But for the most part, they're actually coming out to access that Nelchina public use area sort of on the other side of this mountain range here. All right, where are we at? Cool, so we got the Matanuska Glacier right up here off our nose. I have some more things to say about that as we get a little bit closer. Drifting off here. I'm going to cut through, I think, right there when we come through to find Sheep Mountain. Sure, we probably can give up on the climb at this point. Probably make this Sheep Mountain landing strip it looks weird in the sim, and I know it's there, but some of the more recent landscape updates have kind of made it hard to see. So again, we're kind of coming through here. This is the highway right here. Again, scenic, yada yada yada. But through here, you can see all these other roads that come through here. And this is a place called, I think this is Victory Bible Camp. I think that's what this is. I don't know much about it, but I do know that this is a big, well-maintained road. I've never been down there. I sort of imagine that it's kind of a semi-private sort of situation. You don't really want to be bothering people at their Bible retreats. And I think this one is actually a loop too. I think you can come back around that way. But again, I've never been out there. But this whole area is really pretty, so I'd imagine it's gorgeous out there. Cool. Still Nose up, are we? Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay, cool. Very cool. Highway. So yeah, that Glacier View area I was talking about, it's pretty much right in here. And it's very sparsely populated, but there is a high school or maybe it's a mixed. I want to say it's like right in there where my mouse is. But there's definitely more people through here. This is not a well-populated area. I'm talking maybe a couple thousand people live out here. Um, you know, probably I don't know what they do largely for income out here, but there's a lot of guiding opportunities. And again, this is this big religious organization out here. They probably employ quite a few people, and I think based on signs and places out here, I would imagine that we've got a lot of um, religious affiliated kinds of things going on that I'm just not dialed in on. Um, and that's a common thing in Alaska as we get these communities that are centered around, I don't know, religious stuff, what to call it. It's kind of outside of my area of expertise by a long shot. I will say this is really super nice. Okay, so the glacier. There are a couple things I want to observe here. To start with, um, the glacier kind of cuts through here, and this is some really steep cliffs. But a lot of this that's represented as like not outflow, but like grasslands, is actually glacier underneath rocks and debris. So this is all black pretty much most of the year right here, unless there's snow on it. And what that is just rocks that come down. And you can see right here, this is really steep. I don't know. I actually suspect this is basically the extent of um, the glacier itself, and the river is depicted as coming out over here, and that's generally accurate, except that a ton of it comes out here too. So there's a lot of water here, but there's not a terminal lake, sort of. I mean, it's fuller here of water. It's sort of shallowish and a lot of water, but it's not like you usually see a terminal lake like Portage Glacier, for example. And I've got a Portage Glacier video coming up next or soon if I don't already have it out there. Um, so so that's that. This glacier is accessible. You can see there's a couple of bridges here, and this one is depicted as coming down and coming right out, and that's exactly what you can do. This is expensive. It's $25 a person to cross this bridge. So if you have a carload of 5 people, you're paying 125 bucks. But this is a well-maintained road, and you come out here and you could actually walk right up to the glacier. It's a very popular thing to do. You can get guided tours out to there. If you don't want to do that, there is a restaurant somewhere along this stretch, maybe even right here, maybe not. But right along this stretch, there's a restaurant, and it's not being shown up in the sim here. Maybe it's actually right here. And you can get pie and look out over the glacier, and that's a little cheaper and quite as good if you don't want to get right up next to it. Um, but this is a very popular destination for recreation as well, for skiing and that kind of stuff. So now we're swinging around. Again, this is all mud flats, and there are spots where thick trees. Our highways going off up north here. There are two little mountains here. This nearer one is Sheep Mountain, and the further one away is Gunsight Mountain. And we are moving into the border of sort of the Copper Basin area. That's what I would call that region beyond here. And that's essentially the southern, the deep south of the interior of Alaska, um, and home of the Otna people. But we'll do that. We'll save that region for a different time. Another thing I want to point out here, again, I guess I should say back up. Very popular recreation area. Lots of hunting. I go rabbit hunting out here sometimes. Very cool. Um, the caribou do kind of come up this far, but not in mass. Also, this is interesting, and I'm scratching my head about this. This red depiction here, that I don't remember ever seeing on this particular cliffside, but this is very, very accurate for the area, and that's why I'm scratching my head, because over here, once we get beyond this area here, this is really common, this rusty color, and and it's just iron or whatever. These are old mountains. There's a lot of fossils all the way up in here. Good fossil hunting all through here. So I don't know. Presumably it's rich in iron. Who knows? Um, but I thought that was interesting because it was authentic, if maybe a little out of place, and it could just be that I'm misremembering. I haven't been out here probably in 7 years. Which given that I just had to go rabbit hunting out here sometimes, it kind of gives you an idea of how long it's been since I've been out. looking for snowshoe hares, which is what we usually go for. There's a gunsight mountain. I feel like this is a little bit taller. It really does look like a gunsight coming down the highway here. It looks like a gunsight between these two ridges, effectively. Let's see, and there are lodges all throughout here. I think there's one just on the other side of this Sheep Mountain here. Is that true? There's a radio tower over here that I'm not seeing. Maybe not. Maybe it was over here. Nope, wouldn't be on this side. Huh. But there's definitely a lodge we're going to aim ourselves to up here. See if I can get it. It's just the runway is just right alongside here, and there's actually a ton of airstrips through here. Probably like 4 between Glacier View and Eureka, which is just Eureka's just up over here. And there's also another area of high density population, kind of that direction. It's called Nelchina. And by high density, I mean like probably a couple of dozen of houses. So high density for Alaska. Okay, so let's see if I can find this place. Maybe I'll slow down a bit. Some flaps down while I'm at it. Cool. And again, see this here, all this water. That's not a lake there. This is rushing river, and I don't remember. Okay, I think I found the runway here. So again, this Sheep Mountain runway is, I think you can come out here and actually land. I think it's private, but I do think that if you wanted to land at Sheep Mountain, you could. There's a lodge out here. Presumably you buy fuel, and I don't know if there's a landing fee. Who knows? I don't know anything about it, except that it's here. Since the very first iteration of this update, I'm sorry, of this simulator, this runway's actually gotten better because the landscape has gotten better. And this is all very authentic in here, actually. And the road kind of curving off over that way. It's very, very realistic. And this road, again, will take you out towards Glen Allen, which then could either take you up north towards Fairbanks, Delta Junction, or down, actually down towards Valdez. Or you could take it and eventually end up in Tok and then off to parts east, such as Dawson. Not Dawson City, I'm sorry. I guess you could do that. You'd go north quite a bit. Holy moly, why am I drawing a Whitehorse? I'm a little bit steeper than I was hoping. It'll be okay. Boy, my non-pilot skills are really shining through today. Now you see here, it looks like a bit of like one of these weird artifacts in the simulator where it's like a road there, but if you kind of look at the area itself, you can tell that this is what it is a grass airstrip. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's not gravel, and it is, as I recall, on a bit of a slope. Look at that freeway there. Oh, look, we're 10 cars deep. That's silliness. It's a 2-lane highway and it's narrow. I think they've actually got pretty good they call shoulders right through. All right. Now see, this looks like it's just perfect. You can kind of see as we get closer. Strip here. Nice. Not want to stop. Well, there we go. We're now at the Sheep Mountain Lodge. What do you know about that? So anyway, that's my flight for today. Thanks for hanging out with me as we scoped out the Matanuska River and Matanuska Valley all the way out to Sheep Mountain Lodge. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.